most of you already know by now that Donald Trump has started packing his bags and getting ready to move out of the White House. I uh, I kind of figured he would do so ahead of time. I know a lot of people thought that he would stay until the bitter end, refusing to move out to the point that he would have to be evicted. But I never really thought that that would be the case. And not a lot of people are scared. Um, More so because of this whole impeachment thing. You know, he has made history. Uh, the whole thing about being impeached twice. And a lot of people are worried because a lot of so-called experts on whatever. I mean, I don't know what they're experts on, but news or human nature, who knows? But a lot of experts seem to think or have even stated that if the impeachment thing moves forward, this country will become more divided. So a lot of these experts are saying to just leave well enough alone and let the man go without any further consequences. Or but the fear is that, well, the country will become more divided, and it was said by several news experts or whatever you want to call them. I didn't bother to memorize their names, but they were saying the last thing we could endure is further division. And I'm like, well, I don't even see how that's possible. I mean, how much further divided can this country get? People have already chosen sides. Some say the election was won fair and square. Others say it was stolen. So everybody seems to have chosen sides, and it's like, I mean, what further division are you talking about? So that was my initial thought. I don't think it'll get more divided. I mean, I just, how can it get more divided? But I guess one of the fears is that, and they called it the deadly attack on the Capitol, that things like that will start to happen more prolifically. And that might be the case. But that being said, in order to kill the viper, the snake, you got to cut off its head. And so once you do that, the head lives for a little while longer, and it's still poisonous. And if you get too close to it, it can most certainly bite you and, you know, take you out. Likewise, the body um, continues to live for a significant amount of time. Um, and it, you know, wiggles around as if it's alive and got purpose and all this other kind of stuff. But ultimately, both the head, if you sever the head, both the head and the body will ultimately lose its life force, and they will both die. And this goes, the snake metaphor uh, certainly applies to movements. I mean, that's what I personally observe. I'm not one of those news experts. I've done a little study of history and that kind of thing, and uh, that's the way it goes. I mean, when MLK was assassinated, the movement began to fizzle out. I mean, we had people like Jesse Jackson, Mayor Andrew Young, and those kind of guys. I mean, they were prominent figures, but it just wasn't the same. And it fizzled out. And people went along their merry little way. And now here we are in 2021. And we have a different type of scenario. But I still think the same principle applies. So if they take this process all the way and impeach Trump, he's already lost a significant amount of power. I mean, he's learned some heavy, hard lessons. I mean, I think a lot of people thought that he was on his way to becoming America's first supreme ruler, like a dictator. But here it is in the midnight hour of his presidency, the 11 o'clock hour, and social media has cut him off. And there's a lot of buzz about freedom of speech and censorship, and people are upset and other people are glad. And it's like, well, they're private companies, they have the right to do that and this kind of thing. But ultimately, those private companies are controlled by greater levels of power and influence. I don't care how big they are. Like Facebook and whoever, they're threatening to split it up, that kind of thing. But those private companies, they do what they do, but come on now, they're guided and they're influenced by influencers outside of their CEOs and owners, like Zuckerberg or this Jeff Bezos or whoever. I mean, not that he's got anything to do with what's going on, but you know what I'm saying. These billionaires or whoever they are, they're being influenced and by greater levels behind the scenes authorities that it appears that Trump and his followers thought that they were immune to. So here we go, and this guy can't tweet, or he can't get on social media, and he can't be in contact with his followers, and he's getting ready to possibly go on trial, that kind of thing. And if they take away his influence, then it's like cutting the head off the viper. I mean, true, the body will still wiggle around, flop around, and people will seem like they're going crazy for a little bit period of time, but it's gonna fizzle out probably quicker than you think. Because here's something very, very interesting. I talked about Donald Trump when he said to his followers, we need to march, let us march down Pennsylvania Avenue. And, it was implying, and he did use the words fight. We got to fight, fight, fight. Otherwise, you'll lose your country, that kind of thing. And I talked about, and this is very significant. When you say let us march, that's a contraction. In let's march. He said let's march, which means let us, which means everybody. But it didn't work out like that. His peeps marched and they attacked, but he goes the other way. And He didn't lead the troops. So fast forward a few days, whatnot, and he's actually saying that he doesn't condone violence. He said, "My true followers know that I don't condone violence." So he's kind of like disengaging and detaching from those people that actually supported him. And I honestly think that influencers, those same influencers behind the scenes, call them the Illuminati or whatever you want to call them, that are behind this social media thing censoring Mr. Trump, I'm wondering if they got to him too. It's like, you know what? You need to tone it down, because let's face it, if it's somebody like whoever, Mike Pence, um, Mitch McConnell, certainly Joe Biden and Kamala, if somebody like that were to tell him, you need to tone it down, it wouldn't work out so well. There's more to this story than meets the eye. And you all know that. Everybody knows it. But it's like in the moment when all this crap is going on, we forget. We tend to forget that the people you see on your television screen ain't in control. They're not. The names you hear in the news headlines, the Zuckerbergs and whoever, ultimately they're really not in control. They're not. So, that being said, look forward to improvement in 2021. Just look forward to it. It's gonna happen. There will be improvement in 2021, and when improvement happens, you'll breathe that sigh of relief. Anyway, thank you for listening, and God bless.